Welcome to But Are There Dragons, a podcast where two friends pick a book at least one of them hasn't read and talk about it. I'm your host, Kritter.
And I'm your host, Jess.
And today we're going to be talking about the first half of Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman, a series of books that could not have been more hyped to me, like in my direction. The world was so excited about this, at least my world, including Jessica and Mr. Jessica. Mm-hmm. So this is an exciting time for me now that I've read half, and we're going to be talking about it today. Very exciting, Jessica.
It is.
Very exciting. Okay,
yes.
So but are there updates? Before we talk about the book, we are going to talk about something new that's happened that we want to talk about. And that new thing this week is the fact that Apple TV has secured the rights to the Cosmere, or at least to the Stormlight Archive and Mistborn trilogy.
It's a big deep.
Deep breaths. Deep.
Yeah.
Breaths. So they're saying Mistborn is going to be a series of movies, like the trilogy of movies, presumably. Although, like everything, it'll probably split the last one into two because that's how it goes. We've all seen The Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. I hope. But anyways, and then the Stormlight Archive is going to be a television series. So that makes sense. Those books are bulky. It would be really tough to fit them into movies. So yeah, Jessica, when you heard this news, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts, no thoughts, just squeak, which is kind of my baseline. However, when rational thought did reintroduce itself into my environment, I was a little contemplative about the fact that it's nice to have new hype.
Yeah.
I am a squee girl, in case anybody who listens to this doesn't know that. That's what I bring to the party, is I get excited, and I'm always excited when IPs I know are getting the treatment. And Brandon Sanderson was brought to me by the Wheel of Time fandom family. So it's near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to see it get the treatment. I do know a little bit about the fact that Brandon has held close to those rights because he wants to preserve his input based on interviews I've seen with him and things. Did I call him Brandon like I know him first name basis?
I mean, is it better than Brando Sando or Brand Sand? Because I do that, like Branderson Sanderson.
Yeah, but you're cute and flashy. You can get away with that stuff. I'm just over here going, yeah, Brandon, we hang out. Okay. But at any rate, I know based on interviews that I've seen that he has held on to the rights to make sure that he is comfortable with the way that it's going to be treated creatively. Mm-hmm. And I also heard unsubstantiated, right, on social media, that he, at least for a hot second, had a title as executive producer on IMDb associated with one of these titles. So that's, kind of further supported by what I've seen him say in past interviews. So all exciting, right?
Yeah. The announcement article, I think it was on Variety, actually said that was a big part of the deal, was that he wanted to retain creative control. So he's going to be writing. It's on his website now, like the progress of the Mistborn movies. He's going to be writing. He's retained the right of approval, which is insane. Because a lot of times, they'll be like, sure, you can consult, but we're not going to listen to you, which is apparently something that happened to George R.R. Martin with several of the things that he's been consulting on that are his originally. So I think that is probably my guess how Apple TV secured the bag, because I imagine that Netflix, HBO, everybody else was kind of less inclined to be flexible, whereas Apple TV makes incredible content. I don't know if you have it, but oh my god, everything I've seen from them is incredible, from Murderbot to Shrinking. Like, it was
kind of a pew-pew, right? Like, it's a beloved IP for me going forward into a new medium, and it was picked up by a house that I think can do it justice, which is just super exciting. With talking about Save Watt and things like that, where like Apple would be great to pick it up because they do such incredible content and they take risks and they treat they don't treat it like a money wheel necessarily, or at least it doesn't feel like it by the time it trickles down to us as much.
Yeah, no, I think they're great. The one bittersweet thing about this is like I kept holding out hope that if anybody was going to pick up the Wheel of Time, that it would be Apple TV. So I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but it does feel like, okay, well, that's where their money's going. But let's all remember that Apple, I believe, is the richest corporation in the world. So they can afford Stormlight and Mistborn. They can still afford the Wheel of Time. So Apple TV, please, hashtag save what? Hashtag save what? But I am very, very excited about this. You mentioned like there being fresh hype. Whenever I got the news, my jaw dropped, first of all. And then I was like, oh my God, this is something that I can make a TikTok about. Like, this is something I can talk about on the internet and be hyped about. Like, this is my bread and butter. Like, I love reporting on fantasy news, and it makes it so easy to create content because I'm just like in it in the moment and just as hyped as everybody else, and so excited to tell people that didn't hear the news. Like, being the person who tells them is just like, I don't know, it gives me great joy. And so having that again, because that was my thing during the Wheel of Time era. Anytime there was show news, I'd be straight posting, like ready to talk about it, super excited, and I don't see that being different for these. I'm just really hyped to start this ball rolling again, even though I would love to continue the Wheel of Time ball if possible also.
Yeah. I will just say on a personal note, I was a little late to the Watt family hype. So it is kind of neat to be here on the front end, which adds a little bit more savor to me to be able to be here. I was never treated any different for joining in late. Like, get in here and party with us was always the vibe. Yeah. But it is nice to be like at the beginning stages, and I really hope that it comes to fruition.
Me too. I'm hyped. So I think that does it. I think we did a good little beginning segment, but are there updates complete? Let us know in the comments or on Discord if you are as hyped as we are, if you're skeptical at all. The one thing I am curious about is if Brandon Sanderson can write screenplays like he can write books, or are they too different? Is it going to be weird? Is it going to be a big learning curve for him? So if you have any thoughts about this announcement, let us know, because we'd love to talk with you about it. Okay. Time for Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. So I read the audiobook as always. Fabulous so far. And I've heard it only gets better. And I can't even imagine that because it's like already so fun.
So I'm going to take us back just a half.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
That's okay. So we're swapping roles. I'm going to be the vet this time, which is so funny. But I'm going to try and do it properly. So I wanted to start by, I stole shamelessly from the interwebs this discussion bullet. What is Dungeon Crawler Carl about? In case anybody who is kind of doing a read along or a listen along and doesn't know. Book follows Carl, a Coast Guard vet, navigating a post-apocalyptic world turned into a game-like dungeon. Accompanied by his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, the duo faces absurd challenges in a televised survival game run by aliens. It's a mix of humor, bizarre adventures, and unexpected twists. I thought that was a very good elevator pitch on what Dungeon Crawler Carl is. And so to kick us off properly, because it is the first book in a prolonged series that we may potentially read, I thought I would kick us off with the origin story for each of us. So you did a great job in the beginning saying that lots and lots of people are very excited that you're reading it, myself included. I think Mr. Kritter was also excited. Did you have, so my question is, how did you hear about the series and how much did you know about it going in? And I'll say that I heard about the series from Mr. Jessica. And the only thing I knew is that there was a wildly charismatic character in it named Princess Donut. That's all I knew going in. So how about you?
So I want to say it was either like at a con or on Discord, and I want to say it might have been Mr. Jessica and or some of the other people like collectively on my Discord being like, because we have a book recommendations channel. I think it was that. And at first I will admit, I kind of wrote it off because I was like, it's D&D in a book. Like, what are we talking about? And granted, I enjoyed Vox Machina, which is D&D in a show, but I wasn't immediately sold. I was just kind of like, okay, that's cool. I'm glad you like it. Maybe I'll get there
Mm-hmm.
someday. And then it just kept happening. It just kept happening. Friends of mine who I hadn't talked about the series with, who don't even read that much, read it, loved it,
Mm-hmm.
like from all areas. One of them recently was like, "Oh my gosh, it's a fun book series, but it also just made me cry." And I was like, "How? What?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?" So, as I mentioned, the hype, it's been all encompassing, and it started as a slow trickle, and then it really picked up into an absolute like torrential downpour of enthusiasm about this series. So then it became inevitable. I think it was like, you
Yeah,
know what? I have to know. Like, what's one book, right? Because we don't have to continue it if
we
it's
don't.
just something I'm experiencing. And so it was time.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue. So I had written down that when I first started it, I was like, so what is this genre? What genre is this technically considered? It's referred to as lit RPG.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for me, this is my first book that's classified that way. Would you say this is your first lit RPG read that you know of?
Probably, I think the closest thing that I have read to this is Ready Player One. Have you read that?
I have not. That's another
Okay.
one that Mr. Jessica has said, hey, you should really read this. I
Yeah.
would say that if I think you read Kith and Kin for Vax and Vex, I think
Yes.
technically that would be
Okay, but that was written very differently. But you're not wrong. Like it is two D&D
right.
characters. It's just their story, but it doesn't
Yeah.
feel as much like a
And it
game.
might be borderline because it was almost like it was generated after the campaign as backstory. So
Yeah.
it's a little wishy-washy. But that was
Yeah.
the only thing. When you just mentioned Vox Machina, I was like, oh, that's right. We do kind of
Technically, I did
dabble in
read
that.
that. I did read Kith and
Yep.
Kin. It just felt very much a story. It's as if
Yep.
like Legend of Korra is a TV show and they made like graphic novels out of it. Like that's kind of, but obviously it's
Yep.
different because Legend of Korra wasn't a game. But yeah, Ready Player One it's very video gamey. It's very nostalgic. There are times when the main character is in a game, um, but I don't know if it's technically classified as lit RPG. So
That
I'm
would be
actually,
fun.
yeah. But this is wholly unique. It's they're a little similar in some ways, but it's very different still.
Okay. I would agree with you that this series is kind of caught fire even in the time that I've discovered it. So, again, setting the origin story background, I am only about 6 months to a year ahead of you. I think I actually started reading the series about a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and just finished up through the completed book like November or something. So I only had one full read in before you.
Mm-hmm.
But technically that gives me my vet status. So
It
here we
does.
are.
It does.
But it is a very devourable series,
That's what I
in my
hear. That
opinion.
it's fast. It moves fast. Also, I looked it up. Ready Player One is indeed classified as lit RPG on Wikipedia. So your girl is
There you
not a
go.
lit RPG newbie in that sense.
And I do feel like Dungeon Crawler Carl is lighting up my TikTok feed these days.
See, it hasn't
So
caught me yet. It hasn't caught me
beware.
yet. Yeah.
Beware.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's fun. So getting into part one, I would also like to say that going into this is our seventh season. We yet again picked another phenomenal breaking point where it
Oh
just
my
so
god.
happened that the book is broken into part one and part two. And I think we had a hella cool cliffhanger. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know that I agree because I texted you the moment that it happened. The moment that it happened, I literally was like, "Oh my god. I just heard the awful words like part 2, meaning I have to
Mm-hmm.
stop." They ended it right at the time where they got pulled out of the game for an interview. Like, this is the Caesar Flickerman moment. This is the time that Princess Donut is going to thrive, and they cut us off. I couldn't keep reading in order to preserve my newbie status. It was hard. It hurt. It was like
I'm so proud of you.
It was like 5 days ago, and I've been like, I'm in slight pain ever since, wanting to keep reading. So.
But tonight you're going to be so happy.
I'm so, like, I literally read System Collapse by Martha Wells. It's like a shortish Murderbot book. After I finished this part 1, because I was literally like, I can't just sit here not reading. I have to distract myself. But I just finished it last night. Perfect timing. It's time to start part 2.
Nice. So I am interested. I'm throwing back to like even all the way back to the beginning for our Lord of the Ring days. You and I have both discussed that we struggle for sometimes the same reasons, sometimes different reasons with battle scenes. And I find that with the way battles are done in this book, it is still challenging for me. And I'm wondering, how was it for you? Was it as hard as it was with Lord of the Rings? Same, different? How?
So I think these, to me, were possibly more visualizable. That's a word. Because they're smaller scale battles, right? They feel very video game oriented, right? They feel like bosses that you would encounter while playing, Diablo 2 or what, I'm thinking of the like Belch lady or what, like I feel like I've fought that boss somewhere, in some zombie game or Left 4 Dead. So, there are certain things that are just so familiar that I can kind of visualize what's happening, which helps, because in big scale battles, it's like, this front is over here doing this person's over, and I'm like, okay.
And you're glazed.
They're fighting. And these are like fast enough and familiar enough for me that I think I did glaze probably for all of them, but only briefly, but only for a little bit. Like I caught the main parts for sure.
Nice. I had made a note that you're a bit more of a gamer than I was, so I was wondering if that was going to work in your favor in this situation. I'm not surprised to hear that. Not that I wasn't, I did definitely get jazzed every time I'd hear like a D&D reference, and I'd have a moment where like I understood that reference, and that got me very excited. But you have played more actual video gaming, and so I felt like those dynamics were probably a little easier for you to weather.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know what? I have to say, like, my video game knowledge really kicked in with the pig ball, or I can't remember the name of it. But
the Tusklings.
The Tusklings. And it's not exact, but it sounded so much like something that you would find in Borderlands. Because it's like this extremely irrelevant. This whole thing, actually, the book itself really reminded me of Borderlands because of the humor. Like, Borderlands has this kind of like cutting, what is the word? It's irreverent. It's just really like funny. I like the humor in Borderlands, and it's got like absurd things that happen and absurd bosses, and the pig ball just made me think of it for some reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I did mark down that, we've established that you are an audiobook queen. You have way more audiobook hours than I do under your belt.
I have a lot.
But just as a reminder for you and for anybody who might be listening or watching, this was my first audio book. This is the book that sent me and spoiled me a little bit because this narration was so good that I was like, oh, I really do like audiobook narration. So as a general rule, do you like it so far?
The book or the narration?
The narration.
Yes, absolutely. I really appreciate whenever it's not just reading. And in this case, it's not. They add like sound effects. So for example, when it's new achievement and they add like reverberation and stuff like that, those are like the tiny touches that I think are so fun and just add a little something to an audiobook that elevates it above the run-of-the-mill audiobook. So yeah, I'm into it. I don't have any clear complaints. Nothing like pinged me as being like, this could be better.
Nothing took you out of the story, like talking about throats or anything.
Sliding a tongue down a throat. No, sorry, Fourth Wing reference.
Yeah.
But
Throwing back for some old Butter Their Dragons reference, people.
yeah. No, nothing like that happened. It was all just good vibes.
Awesome. Awesome. So sorry, I went out of order and I never should have done that.
That's okay.
Um, so we talked about, the battle scenes. I feel like left to my own devices, I would say the two most important characters that get introduced in part one, us apart from Carl, are Donut and Mordecai.
Yeah.
I find them both to be very entertaining. And I
Yes.
thought, do you agree? Was there anybody else that really jumped off the page at you as it is? Or were those the two big ones?
I mean, jumped off the page would have been the guy who was killing people, like people. That was
Frank Q.
yeah, that was creepy. And obviously he had
Mhm.
like a partner or whatever, but he was he was the worst. I don't know why, just like his whole vibe. I hated it. The fact that they discovered the body first and it had been looted and like stripped down. I just got these really like seedy vibes. Interestingly, how it was like they attributed them to like ICE or whatever, like Customs and Border
Yeah.
Patrol, which was like, oh,
So timely
I
in
wonder if they
this
wanted us to feel some
time.
kind of way about that. Um,
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah, that was like, it's because I just recently read a series of Stephen King novellas. And called Under the It Bleeds. They're like packaged, and there's like certain characters in that one in particular that's like just really he makes your skin crawl, like truly makes your skin crawl. And I got that same thing from him. So like obviously Mordecai delightful, Princess Donut perfection, Carl super fun. That guy was the guy that like felt like like a villain to me. I don't know. I hated him. I really hated him.
Yeah. So I will say that when I got to that part on my first read through, that was really a turning point in the story for me, because up until now, this had been a bunch of bad stuff that was being done to humans by other races. And this is the first time in the story that we hear them overtly, that the author overtly introduces humans being awful to humans in this, actual apocalypse.
Yeah.
And you're taking the time to kill other humans.
Right. Not unrealistic, but tragic in the sense that it's not unrealistic.
Right. So yeah, he stood out. Frank Hugh definitely stands out. There are a couple of things in part one that are kind of intense, like a room full of goblin babies might be a thing that is an elephant in a room.
I had blocked that one out of my memory.
Yeah.
I was thinking the fact that at least the gym bro and the trash bag lady were both humans that got transfigured into beasts and were like there against their will doing those things.
I remember being very horrified at that.
Yeah, and like the fact that Carl recognizes it and is also horrified by it makes you sympathize with him more as a character, right? He's not just like, this is the final boss, I have to fight him. He's like, this sucks, I hate this, why do I have to do this? Like, so I did appreciate that about him.
Yeah, there are a couple moments like that, even in the first half of book one. The goblin babies thing for me. So again, that was the first boss that they battled, and in order to kill the goblin boss, Donut gave him the thumbs up, and she's like, "Oh, he was just sitting there reading a book," and then Carl sends in his bomb, and oh, maybe he was reading to all those kids. It's not a fun moment. That sounds terrible. It's such an interesting moment. Because even as many times as we discussed it, Mr. Jessica and I were just talking about it last night. Yeah. And for us, the debate is friendly debate, but debate nonetheless. Is that a product of Donut becoming a sentient creature? Or is it a lack of empathy? Because I feel like there's a progression in Donut's empathy, and she is not there yet. And so I feel like she's a little underdeveloped in her own way still.
Okay.
Or is it her ruthlessness? Because there are definitely times where Donut can just be ruthless. So,
Yeah. I mean, she's a
or some
cat.
other thing.
She's a cat. There's a couple ways to look at it, right? Because like she says things that hurt Carl all the time casually without even presumably thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it. Though maybe she does think about it and she knows that it hurts him and she says it anyways,
Right.
about the fact that her master was cheating on Carl constantly. Like,
Yeah.
was she dropping
And
those hints?
referring to him as her manservant.
Yeah,
Like,
well, that I
there's.
take as like ribbing, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But the other stuff is like she's just like, oh yeah, is that why that guy came and like, was
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, where she
I do. I know exactly what you're talking
constantly
about.
told Carl about how bad his ex-girlfriend was. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, are you suggesting because she just now developed like humanoid characteristics that like because of that she doesn't have the human empathy developed yet and that's like a thing that will be a progression or
I mean, that's how I took it in the moment. So
yeah.
trying to throw back to the first time I read it and then rereading it this time and trying to think about that. At the time, I kind of just attributed it to she's still a child in mentality in some ways because empathy is a learned trait. And I would assume that as a cat, you don't spend time worrying about other people's. I am making assumptions, but I would assume that cats don't spend a lot of time worrying about other people's outcomes, other creatures' safety. Like it's survival of the fittest, and you look out for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I didn't think much of it. I just, she's either, well, obviously, I would think that we can say that it's definitely not that she was not smart enough to think of it because of her stats. Like,
Right?
she was definitely smart enough to know, but,
Mm-hmm.
whether she doesn't value the goblin life,
Is
unclear.
Goblin a life to value?
Right. Yeah, maybe that's her calculus, and her opinion is no.
Right.
I don't know.
So, yeah, just there were a couple moments like that where I was like, ooh, I wasn't expecting to have to think. And those were moments that
I
kind of
that's
gave me pause on the first time through.
I didn't think much of it, honestly, but now that I'm thinking of it, it's like, was that a donut trolley problem? Was she like, don't throw bomb in, don't kill boss, don't get recognized, possibly die because I haven't gotten recognized, or kill boss but also kill a bunch of goblin babies, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she just made that calculus and it was like, you know what, I'd rather we survive. I'd rather we get sponsored. Boom.
So, yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up to see how that went for you in terms of whether it registered on the scale for you.
It did not ping me that hard. I obviously the fact that it was like after the fact, I was like, "Oh Jesus," but I didn't really think like, "Oh donut, what are you doing?" That was not something I didn't. I don't know because she's a cat.
Yeah.
You can't blame a cat. Cats can do no wrong.
So, in general, the first time I read this through, some of the references, some of the humor, some of the scenarios feel not just irreverent, but like just kind of out there, kind of wild, especially
Zany.
given the context of what our most recent reads have been. So, how was that for you? Was it a big departure? Did you feel like, wow, this is really kind of out there, or was it just all in good fun, or somewhere in between?
I gosh, I think this book does such a good job of putting you on the train right out of the gate and then not kicking you off of it. And so for me, it was like, boom, chapter one, apocalypse. We're going into the dungeon. It was literally like, okay, let's do it. Oh, there's a game. Great, let's go. And so I was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I was just on board, right? They didn't give me a second to be like, what? Or like, what's what? It was just so believable. They just made it, like this is what's happening. Here we go. And so I didn't the zaniness didn't throw me because not only was I firmly on the train, but stuff was familiar enough. Even though it's wild, it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is the Hunger Games. That's actually it's like Mario because you're going through. It's a platformer. There's things that I'm like, okay, this is what it is. And Mordecai's like Splinter, but not really because he's like the guy that you meet at the, one of the NPCs in the game that you have to talk to get your quests. And like, there's so many things that I was just like, the neurons were firing, everything was connecting, nothing was hard to believe. And
Nice.
so I was just in it, man. I had no regrets.
Nice. I like that. Right on the train. Again, I jumped around. Do you have any thoughts about the AI?
The AI. I'm trying to remember what we're talking about with that.
So the AI is the voice that says things like new achievement and talks to them about what their loot boxes are.
Okay,
And
right.
so in my notes, I had written that, like, for example, when we read Lord of the Rings, the narrator kind of threw me off for a hot second. And I'm wondering, did the AI give you any pause?
No. Honestly, I think it adds to it. I think it gives it video game vibes. It's just all a part of the package. And it's one of the more consistent sources of humor in this book for me. The ribbing that it gives them,
Mm-hmm.
like it's, I don't know. I can't think of a specific. Oh, I can't think of a specific example, but like the keep squishing people. I like it. Like stupid crap like that. That one is one of the least funny, but like there's so many that are so funny that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm into it. The fact that the audiobook really does it up, zhuzhes it up, I'm a big fan. Also, I didn't mention this before, but the fact that he's got an interface that has an infinite inventory.
So
I
I was thinking of you because we've had our conversations about inventory management, the good, the bad, the ugly. And so even just tonight, I think I was re-listening at like double speed during dinner or whatever, which I never do. I was taking a
Yeah.
page out of your book for a
Yeah.
change. Um, and it was talking about he got a new achievement for having over £1,000,000 or something in
hmm
his inventory, and I
That's
couldn't help but
me.
think of you.
Oop.
Like you pick up everything,
That's me. That's me. And the fact that I don't know if it's the AI, whatever the inventory system is, it automatically like classifies it and organizes it for you. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Why can everyone not do that? That is the dream. I would be
Yeah,
doing exactly what Carl, like, yeah, I think I wrote a note that was literally like, can you pick it up? It goes in the inventory.
goes in the
That would be
inventory.
exactly me. We are one
Yeah,
and the same.
if you've got unlimited storage, the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Yep. Um, that's great. So you and I, we are very aligned very often, but every once in a while, your brain goes down one path and I go down another. So I didn't know if, based on what you've heard so far through part one, if you have any theories, thoughts, or threads, things you think you might see in part two.
In part two, okay, so I wrote down one theory. It's not for part two, it's for the end. The whole story.
Oh, okay.
One of my first things, it wasn't as much a prediction as a question, but the moment they said that a monarch would be crowned if they get to level 18 or whatever, it was, will Donut win the dungeon and become the regent of Earth? And that was before she could start talking, because it was literally
Mhm.
like the first person to complete level 18. And I have cats. I know how ridiculous they
Mhm.
are. I could see her jumping off of
Agni.
Agni. I can see her jumping off of Carl's shoulder at the 11th hour and crossing the finish line first. And so that was my first instinct. And then we found out that she can talk, like she got the ability to talk and is like fully sentient now, and she's actually royalty. So all of those things were like, it's all lining up. It's gonna be Princess Donut, which I think is hilarious. And I have to mention, oh no, actually I'll save this for later. Yep, that's anyways. So that's my biggest prediction. What's gonna happen the rest of the book? So I guess my big question is, because I don't know how these books are structured, are all of the books a single floor? Like, are we, although no, they did. They were going down to the second level at the end of part one. So
I
yeah,
am gonna raffo you on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know how fast we're going to be getting through these levels because they said
Mhm.
that they get smaller too, but more difficult. Um, so my biggest question is going to be the pacing. Are we going to slow down? Are we going to speed up? Are there going
Yeah.
to be 18 books? Because that seems crazy.
And to be fair, that I had the same exact question. Like, is it a book a level? Or
Yeah.
I will tell you that it's public knowledge that the author is intending 10 books, if
Okay.
that
So
helps
it's not
you.
going to be a book. Well, I guess it depends. I guess they don't have to complete all 18 levels. It if it's giving, spoilers for Hunger Games book 3, book 2, they break the level. They don't complete the games. Um so the question is that going to happen, or is Carl going to get to level 18, something that literally no one has done yet? I don't know that I would like that cuz then he's like playing into their game. I think
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer him to break the wheel, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't tell you if it'll go one way or the other because it would be pretty badass to do something that no one had ever done. Also, I kind of want to predict, and I want to say I'm slightly spoiled on this, but I don't know which cover I've seen, so I don't know how long it's going to last, but I don't want Carl to ever get pants. He can get shoes, but I don't want him to ever get pants. I think it is so funny that he's running around in boxers and like greaves or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the like,
Mm-hmm.
like or
Yeah.
one set
Gauntlets,
gauntlets. What?
something.
Yeah, gauntlets,
Bracers. Bracers.
bracers. Yeah, the fact that he's running around in boxers, a cloak, and a bracer is such a fun visual. And I've seen like one book cover, and I can't remember which one it was for, that he's wearing boxers. And honestly, it could be the first one. So like he could get pants tomorrow, but
Yep.
that's my hope that he never does. Maybe because the gifts are catered to the person, he'll get like boxers with armor levels. I would love that. That would anyway. So yeah, let's. Those are going to be my predictions. My
That's
slash
awesome.
hopes. Predictions slash hopes.
That's awesome. Uh, if nothing else, is very validating to hear you be right along the same path as I was when I read it the first time. It's very validating to hear you have very similar, thoughts and feelings and concerns. I was like, it's the Die Hard all over again. He's just gonna go barefoot through the whole thing. Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Sure. Yeah.
That's fun. We've definitely buried the lead with this one, but how did you feel about Donut coming to life? Were you surprised? Were you excited? Was it
Okay. This is the thing that I almost said earlier, but reserved because I figured we'd talk about it. The moment that they read out Princess Donut's stats, I literally guffawed out loud. It was a loud laugh. It was like this, it was my favorite moment. I think just because of how much delight it gave me, because I'm a cat lady. I've always been a
Mm-hmm.
cat lady. Like cats are me and cats, we get along.
Mm-hmm.
If you're listening and not watching, I'm gesturing towards my headphones, which are cat ears. um yeah, it's so funny that like her intelligence is off the charts and Carl's is like slightly below average, which
Mm-hmm.
I kind of dispute because he's come up with some really brilliant plans, but like
Yeah.
I digress. No, I loved the Princess Donut transition into the fact that she can talk and, has a crown and is incredibly powerful. Perfect.
Awesome.
No notes.
Amazing. I remember I knew that there was Princess Donut because I had heard enough things about Princess Donut being a character in it. I did not realize that she was going to become sentient and speak.
Later.
So even knowing that she existed, I did not know to expect that. So it was a true surprise. So I was kind of excited about that.
Yeah. I have to give a shout out. I didn't know anything about Princess Donut either, but a artist friend of mine, her name's Anne Kostecki, she did like a fan art of Princess Donut, and it's actually hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, and so all I knew is that people were obsessed with this cat, and
Yep.
I didn't know why. And now I know why.
I just saw a TikTok today, which you're not allowed to see. But it does appear that Dungeon Crawler Carl merch is starting to hit Hot Topic, which will make my
Oh.
day if that's a thing, because um, Yeah, I would love a Princess Donut t-shirt.
I love a good oversized tee. Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to check that out for sure.
So we're running to the end of my notes. Just if there were any top moments you wanted to share or any notes you had to share.
Um, I liked the sequence of bosses. I thought it gave us a wide variety, and the pig ball was just like so weird, but the way they solved it was
Yes.
cool. Which, like,
Yes.
there's always a hint or whatever, the Mordecai clue, and then
Mm-hmm.
Carl, who I think deserves a higher stat in intelligence, solved that problem and like engineered it. Used his resources, which I really appreciated. The gym bro one was the one that I was just like, the fact that this used to be a human is so sad, but I have a feeling I know what kind of human they were.
Yeah.
We would not be best friends, but whatever. But yeah, the narrator doing like, bro, the way he did it, I thought was really funny. So, and the fact that they're like throwing barbells again, it just reminded me of video games. So like there's
Yeah.
this video game that my sister just reminded me of because I went on this quest to find a game in the last couple of days that I knew an audio clip from, but I couldn't remember what it was from. I digress. One of the games my sister suggested it could be is called Joe and Mac. It's this old game where you're playing two, I think it's cavemen, but you're like, to play, you're like throwing crap around, or maybe the bosses like throw crap at you. It's like a 2D hand drawn, like very, yeah, old game.
Okay.
But that kind of, because Joe and Mac are like these like cavemen dudes, and you're like walking around with them, it kind of just reminded me of that boss battle. Because I can just see that happen, like you go to the end of the level and there's this boss that's throwing dumbbells at you. It's like, it's perfect old school arcade style video game.
Nice. Yeah, it was something else, and I could tell that there was more. No, not even that there was more happening. I just was like, Critter's gonna love this because she's gamed so much harder than I have. Like that's just all there is to it. But I've done 10 hours here and there. Like I did a stint with God of War, I did a stint with Final Fantasy, I did a stint with Myst. I'm a chronic quitter at games. I enjoy them for a hot second. I might even binge them, but
Mm-hmm.
then just I wander away and I never make it back. So
So you mentioned the boss battles. You still glazed. Is so
a
you were
little bit.
just, so that was like probably your least favorite part of the book, were the boss battles.
Yes, but even that, like to your point, it's a very immersive story, so it wasn't as bad as talking about troop movements across a valley.
Amen.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, it's true. No, it's way
Yeah,
easier to follow for me too.
yeah.
For sure.
Some of my favorite moments were I had. So you talked about Donut when she ever opened that crown and immediately put it on and goes, "It's purple. It's my color." I paused the audiobook and I looked at Daniel and I went, "Am I Donut?" Which obviously got me a big laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was fun. Mordecai, you mentioned that he's like Splinter. That was a direct Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference, so I loved that. My Gen X heart was like, I got that reference. I get that. So those kinds of things almost feel tailor made for somebody between your age and my age. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
give me more of that.
Although Splinter's, sorry, Mordecai's, like, don't talk bad about the company, like, don't use their name, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. To me, I was like, oh, it's giving Big Brother. It's intense. It's like oppressive, even. So yeah, it's such a lighthearted overall story, but then there's stuff in the back, like overlaying it, where you're just like, this is, we got to fix this. There's some stuff that needs to go down
Turns
here.
out there might be some ick.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a bad, there's
Mm-hmm.
a big bad, there's a big bad that we gotta take down.
Yeah. So realistically, that was all I had.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any other final thoughts or things that you'd like to add before we go into
Well, I
our
guess
MVP?
we haven't really talked about this other than like the vague reference to the pig battle, but at the end we roll up on a group of caregivers and a bunch of elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
That was like not on my bingo card for this book.
No.
So far from it. So now I'm really, really worried about the elderly people. I know that Carl
Mm-hmm.
and Donut are like they're gonna help them. At least they said they were gonna help them.
Mm-hmm.
But I am just so nervous for how that's gonna end. I mean, my best case scenario is that they get separated from each other, so we don't find out how they die because they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna die. I
Mm-hmm.
think, but it's just like it just makes me really nervous. It makes me really nervous. It was really heartwarming, right? How like
Yeah.
they beat the boss, and then I guess the doors opened up, and then some old guy comes in. And he's like, "Hey, you guys doing okay in here?" That was like really cute, and like the fact that they're sticking together, the fact that the stairs turn into a ramp to accommodate them. All that stuff is like fun, but they're just literally setting us up for devastation.
Absolutely.
So I'm
So
nervous.
the Meadowlark story, especially there for that last boss battle before our break for part 2, gave us one of the more tender moments for me in part 1, which is Donut and Carl having a side conversation about what they're going to do. And Donut essentially says to Carl, Carl asked Donut, what do you think we should do? And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, do we help them, or do we just go, and she's like, oh, it's so crazy that I already know what you're gonna do, but you don't.
Yeah.
And so I love those little heartwarming moments with
Mm-hmm.
Donut and Carl, for all that she is snooty and
Mm-hmm.
say some really wild stuff.
Yeah.
The real sentiment comes through, and that was a nice moment right before we took our break for part 2.
Yeah. 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 Princess Donut is a multifaceted character. Let's put it that way. She's not just a single beat cat. I don't know how to put it, but no, I like how complicated she is and how much she
Yeah,
knows Carl.
she's got layers.
She's like an onion. That's the word.
So I think with that we would go into the next phase of what we typically do, which is to pick our MVPs and runner-ups. And Kritter, why don't you set the stage, because you have the spiel down pat.
Okay, I'm setting the stage. All right, so every episode we pick an MVP and a runner-up MVP, and by the end of the book, we will put all of their scores together and come up with an MVP for the book itself. So, MVPs are worth 2, runner-up MVPs are worth 1. We do not always agree, and if you disagree with us or agree with us, let us know on Discord or in the comments how you feel about our choices and who you would pick, because we love to hear from you. So, Jessica, who is your runner-up?
Okay, so for part 1, going into runner-up, I'm going to pick Mordecai. I think that he is bringing some really key information to try and set them up in a completely foreign world scenario situation.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a real easy choice. I'm going to go with Mordecai for my runner-up.
Okay. I very much respect that. My runner-up is Princess Donut. Mainly because I remember that she finally overcame her aversion to using her claw attack, and she meleeed a boss or a monster or whatever in order to save Carl, because it was the gym bro, because Carl was about to die, and she finally overcame her qualms and did it and rendered extreme damage and allowed Carl to win. So I mean, without Princess Donut making that move, Carl would be dead. And this is Dungeon Crawler Carl, so Princess Donut gets my runner-up.
Nice. Solid
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So with that, I will go ahead and go first. I will pick my MVP first, which I really dislike doing, but I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
In an unprecedented move for me, I am going to pick the protagonist as my MVP for the first half. I'm going to give it to Carl. Coming back to book 1, reading him in this is some wild ride stuff that he is coming through. And he is keeping the boat afloat for more than just himself. And I love him. I forgot how much I just really dig Carl. So I'm going to give it to him right out the gate.
Well, I'm going to follow up on that immediately and say #same.
Okay,
Carl,
nice.
Yeah, no, like Carl, I didn't want to give away my final answer, so I will say like Mordecai was a close third. Like he obviously gave them super vital information, but it's just he didn't necessarily save their life quite like Princess Donna did. But Carl, coming up with solutions, killing baddies left and right, saving the old people, like outsmarting the bad humans, because he remembered the rules of the safe zones, which to me just spoke to me because I'm such a rules lawyer in games that it's like, of course he remembered that Mordecai mentioned one time that you can't hurt other people in the safe zones, and that's how he's gonna win this. Like, I love that. He's not only is he a big burly, ex-military electrician, but he's also got a really soft heart and he's smart. And so I think he's a really, really great protagonist. And I have not gotten tired of him yet, and I don't see myself getting tired of him, frankly. I think he's great.
Amazing. Well, I think that does it for part 1.
Yeah.
For Dungeon Crawler Carl, book 1.
Yeah.
So, with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you on behalf of both of us for joining us in the first episode of Season 7 of But Are There Dragons, brought to you by your hosts, Jessica Sadai and Kritter XD. Don't forget to follow us on But Are There Dragons on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and But Dragons Pod, just one T, on X. You can also find your hosts on social media on Kritter XD as Kritter XD and Shelf Indulgence. We are going to be back with the second half of the book for our second episode. Look for that episode on March 3rd. March 3rd. That's it for today. New achievement, you can read. Now let's see if you can actually finish a book rather than stopping halfway.
Bye.
Bye.